Amanda Dittmar.
John
How
Popko.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I feel like I've seen you obviously uh, because we have the internet, but I don't think we have spoken since I left the Weekender back in 2013.
That's probably accurate.
That's 9 years ago.
That's crazy. It's like a lifetime ago.
It really is. Amanda, your face still gets red.
Yeah, I'll probably still get a little rosy.
Well, thanks for doing this.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Amanda Dittmar is a long time. I'll still call you a friend. We don't
Absolutely.
talk, but Amanda spent some time at the Weekender back in the day as an intern, and then eventually she was hired full time when I was the general manager. Um, and I would love to hear the stories about that you may have after I left, or not, whatever you want to do. But a lot has happened in the past 9 years since we last kind of talked, and I want to get into it. I mean, I've been having a lot of fun doing these interviews with previous Weekender employees as part of this podcast that I've been doing. I had a lot of conversations with some awesome people from back in the day, and I think we had a lot of fun at the Weekender. So
Absolutely. I'm like super excited to bounce in, and you're like the beginning of my little mini press thing that I'm doing for an art show. So,
oh, you're doing a press tour. Okay. Okay. All right. You're just using me. I see. I thought we were just gonna hang out, but you're just using me.
well, yeah, a
We're just
little
gonna
bit of both.
we're just gonna plug some events here, I guess, huh?
Well, let's catch up first,
I'm
man.
kidding. I'm kidding. That's why I wanted to create this platform, because I wanted people not only to hang out and have conversations, but also use it as a platform to talk about the cool things that they've got going on. So, Amanda Dittmar, you were an intern at the Weekend to start things off.
I
Um,
was
yeah.
a
How did?
lifetime ago.
Yeah. I mean, what year was that? When did that happen? How did that start?
Okay, so that would have been 2009. I emailed probably Steve Husted back then and Rachel Pugh to get an internship because I needed one for college back when I was at Marywood.
And you
So,
and you chose one that didn't pay. What a fool!
yeah,
That should have been the first red flag. This girl will take an unpaid internship. I did too. We're all fools.
yeah, and I stayed too. I
Yeah.
interned and just like never left for many years.
Now, did you start as an intern? Because I know you're a photographer as well. Did you do design and photography, or did you just focus on design? How did that kind of happen?
I was doing design and photography. So back then, I remember my first projects were cutting out the man and model of the week to put on the lovely back pages of the Weekender. Lots of hair to cut
Hey,
out, and
those were the well, the model of the week was the most popular page of the Weekender. Us creepy guys, like we had to like see who it is.
absolutely. And I feel like eventually I ended up photographing half of the community for Man and Model of the Week. I was sending out many messages via social media to strangers to come model.
Yeah, well, I think when you started doing that and kind of took it over, it kind of took it to a new level. It was more creative in the sense that they were shot on location with nice scenery, as opposed to back in the day when I don't know how it started, but when I was an intern and then even when I got hired full time, we were just taking pictures of girls out at clubs. I
I
mean, it was
remember I remember people coming into the office and standing in like the hallway against a white wall for
my
some
wife.
of
My
them.
wife did that. That's how I met
Yeah.
her. That's how I met her. Yeah.
You used it as like Tinder back in the day.
Yeah, I dated a couple models back then. Yeah, don't tell my wife that.
Oh man, I'm sure she watches. So,
She doesn't. She doesn't. So it's okay.
oh okay, so you're off the hook for that one.
I'm safe. This will probably be the one and only one she watches, and I'll be in big trouble.
Absolutely, that would be really funny. I'll make sure to send it to her because I believe we're still friends on Facebook too. I see all of the adorable updates of your son.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, I well, you see, I used I use it to my advantage. I had to, I had to find the right one. And I did
Yeah,
that. I did that.
you
But
did it, you know?
this is not about me. We could talk about that later.
Yeah. So yeah, I ended up, I feel like Man and Model of the Week transitioned over to shooting people on location. And I think another local photographer started shooting them at one point, and then eventually I took over doing freelancing and asking people to meet me in the strangest locations, reflecting back on that to
What
like
was
take photos.
what was the strangest one?
Oh, man. Like I'm talking back alleys of places where I was like, oh, there's some cool graffiti here. Let's go into this like sketchy back alley.
Amanda,
Um,
this these times are different now. I don't think that would be okay these days.
yeah, I really like, I don't think this whole process would have gone by as
I don't
well, or
well, I don't think you could do, have a man and model of the week these days.
really.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like you could do like person of the week because there's a lot of local creatives and local
well,
personalities
we
that you could
kind
highlight.
we did that. It was I think it was like a who is feature. We kind of had
Yeah. Oh
I mean,
yeah,
but I
I
don't
shot a
think,
bunch of those.
but I don't think you could do a man and model of the week. Like, I feel like the woke mob would come after you and shut it down. Like, we're discriminating against, you name it. They would call issues on, body shaming or whatever you want to call it. It's a different world.
It definitely is. I mean, like reflecting on that, and like I've looked at like previous images like that I have on hard drives still from like shoots or like on old Facebook posts that come up in my timeline, and it's just, it really is like, I feel like we were in a different world back then too.
And it's not that long ago, 10 years, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's
Life changes
crazy
so
how
quick.
much, yeah, how really life does change. I'm married now, so like,
What?
yeah,
What?
yeah, I've been married for like a year.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, so life is like, it's just, I think a lot has changed. I don't even think I've picked up a weekender probably in the past at least 8 years
Yeah,
either.
you're better off. It's just
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean. Um, but
I
they
feel like
stop.
we were the last of that like weekender legacy where we were very involved in the community. I feel like we were at every local event doing something.
Yeah. It's a shame because and I don't want to talk poorly about it, but it stopped printing slightly before the COVID virus hit, the pandemic.
Hmm.
So maybe February of 2020. And
Hmm.
obviously, throughout the pandemic, it really didn't have a reason to exist because there were no events, there were no things going on. So it made sense for it to kind of die. And I thought at that point it RIP, like it had its run, let
Hmm.
it just cease to exist. But then I think like 6, 7, maybe 8 months ago, I forget how long ago it was, they brought it back.
Really?
And I don't really understand the concept behind bringing it back because they started doing it once a month and putting it out on a Thursday. So you took the weekender that's printed every Wednesday, every week, 52 weeks a year, to a Thursday, one time a month. Just call it the month ender.
Yeah, it's not really the weekender
No,
anymore.
just let it die. Let it die.
That's so sad. I really, maybe they need a rebrand.
I don't know. I mean, people say, you could bring it back and do it the right way. I just don't know if there's a place for a print publication for arts and entertainment like that. Because when it started, it was before, people really had the internet. It was before social media. The only way to find out what was going on at different places and where things were happening was to pick out the weekender. It was a a magnificent thing created by Jim McDonald, who I had on. But it doesn't make much sense in today's landscape.
Digital age, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it really has changed. I feel like Instagram was just really starting when I went full time at the Weekender. And by the time I ended up being like the creative director there before I left. But like social media and like Facebook was around because we did promote stuff on Facebook and stuff, but people still picked up the Weekender. I remember like back then, like the boxes would empty out sometimes, and it was just
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great thing to be a part of. I wouldn't be where I am today without being part of that. So I'm very thankful. That's why I wanted to do these podcast interviews to kind of just have like a time capsule of you know the people involved and just kind of hear their stories. And I'm a very sentimental person. But let's go back to, you said you were intern doing models of the week and men of the week and things like that. Um, how did you transition from intern to full time?
so I went from intern to freelancing, shooting man and model of the week, and then Steve Husted, the graphic designer, was leaving at the time, and I'd interviewed, I believe Rachel interviewed me for the position. Interviewed and got hired initially as the graphic designer, and then you were still there doing, were you doing marketing and sales still then?
So what year were you hired full time? Was it 2012?
Somewhere around there, like 2012, maybe 2013.
It had to have been 2012.
Rachel left very shortly after I started.
Yeah, so that was a really wild few months because Steve had put his notice in. I don't know if that was 2011 that he left.
So I graduated in 10, so it would have probably 11 or 12, right?
I can't remember. I remember because Steve was leaving, then Rachel all of a sudden left. So there was this huge like just transition of like everybody. It was a whole
And
like
then
thing.
Nikki and Mike left. This was all in my first year.
Well,
And it was like,
Mike left, I think in 2010
okay. So
ish.
Mike was there when I was an intern.
Right, right. But I think
I
when
re-
you started full time, like Nikki was there for a minute and then she
Mhm.
left. So like there was a lot happening. Steve left, Rachel left, Nikki left. Then you were the graphic designer for us. I took Rachel's position as general manager. Rich Howells, who was a staff writer for like I feel like a week, went from staff writer to editor. Sarah Picorni, now she's married.
Yeah.
I don't know her last name now, but she came in as a staff writer. There was almost like a whole new staff of
Yeah.
Weekender crew in a very very
Very
short time.
short period of time. Yeah. And there was a whole new sales staff that came in too when you went into when you took over Rachel's job as well. It was
Yeah, Kieran was there for a little while. Paul Shaw came over from the Times Leader. Um,
Chris. I feel like
Chris Hughes was kind of helping Rich. Um,
no, I
with
feel like there was another Chris from sales
oh
that was like
oh,
Kieran's friend.
Chris was there after I had left. So there's a whole it was like a mess of like a 2 year span after. It's almost like a domino effect. Rachel, Steve left, and like we were there for a while. Like Rachel was there for 9 or 10 years. I was there, 9 years. Steve was there. I think he was there for maybe 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden there was a new faces to the Weekender. And
Yeah.
I don't think that had anything to do with the downfall of it. It was a lot. I think the internet was most of it, but and ownership and
Mm-hmm.
some management too. But so yeah, you jumped in as the graphic designer. I mean, that was your
Mm-hmm.
first full-time job, kind of, sort of.
Second, second one out of college. But like I was making a lot of design decisions and making a lot of the visual decisions for everything from our like ads to pages. I was designing pages too, and like the covers and any editorial creative. I think I still have like old prints from when I was there tucked away and stuff.
Yeah, what was it like during your time there? Because I mean, it was a whirlwind as far as
Yeah.
people coming and going, and
I feel like I kind of got a bit of when you were in your heyday in sales there, and Rachel, like that old crew, because that was part of my internship. And then it was just when I got hired on, it was a lot of transition. And then once we got purchased by Civitas and they started moving us over to like the Times Leader building, a lot of faces started leaving, and I think I was the last of our whole generation of crew. um Jokingly, I laugh now, but like Rachel's hand chair, I have it in my apartment.
really,
And like, yeah, I just used it for my photo shoot. Rachel commented on it because I didn't want to leave it there. I was so mad at like, we had all left and everything we worked so hard to like build and create this really big community thing. And, I couldn't agree with certain changes they were making. So I felt like my face was in the paper. People noticed you in public, and I couldn't keep
yeah,
having my face there in it with things that I didn't agree with. So yeah, when I left, I took the hand chair.
that's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so happy you
yeah.
did that.
It's my rebellious like
I'm taking
that,
this. I'm
and
taking this. This is mine. I'm taking
yeah,
this.
took that. And when I remember my last day walking out from one of our zombie shoots, there were still like bloody handprints on a window, and it made me chuckle from one of like the photo shoots that like Taney's did with us.
Mhm.
I don't know if you were still there at that
I
point.
think I don't know. I don't remember. I just I just felt so bad. I mean, all I wanted to do was be the general manager, and I feel like I finally got it.
Uh-huh.
And I had a great team in place, and it was almost like a blessing in disguise having like this new crew, because a lot of times when you work side by side with people and then you become their boss, it's really hard to differentiate
Yeah.
that hierarchy.
Transition. Yeah.
And you know that's such a I didn't have to worry about that. Like you were you were new as like a full-time employee. I mean, you've been around for
Mhm.
a while, but Rich was new and Sarah was new and Kieran was there for
Mhm.
like a year. Like it was like kind of cool to like start building something, you know, with a new team, and kind of taking things forward. And like you said, when Civitas purchased it, it was just I felt helpless. Like I felt like I was constantly letting you guys down.
Mhm.
You guys like looked at me for guidance, and I'm like, my hands are tied. I have no say. I have no control over
No.
any of
Yeah.
this. Um, and yeah, like you were saying, I every week, because I was still handling sales too when I was the
Mhm.
GM. Every week I was saying sorry to one of my customers who I worked with for 9 years, and saying, hey, sorry, your ad is you paid for a half page and it ran as a quarter page, or you paid for a
Oh.
color ad and it ran black and white, whatever it might be. And it's easy to say, hey, mistakes happen, and I'll give you,
Mhm.
next week I'll bonus you an extra ad, or I'll make your ad a half page or a full page from a half page, whatever you have to do to kind of you know
Yeah.
make them happy. But it was every week, and I'm like,
Yeah.
every week I'm saying sorry. I'm saying sorry to my customers. I'm saying sorry to my staff. I'm saying sorry every freaking week. And I'm like, I'm not going to let these people who aren't even local to us, they're, I think, North
Mhm.
Carolina or wherever the hell they were, who didn't give a shit about us. I'm not going to let them ruin something that I've built for 9 years, my reputation, all that. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. And then I feel like once you left, it was like a slow fire sale of either them moving and changing and moving like their design team to their centralized location, or just general changes. It it turned into something that like I understood my reputation as well, and just I had to leave.
There was times where, because I went to Times Shamrock,
Hmm.
and I remember there being some like spots open over there for designers, and I remember contacting you saying, "Hey, like if you're looking to get out," because I knew people were
Yeah,
unhappy. So I mean, you were there for as a full time employee for what, 2 years?
I feel like 2 or 3 years. It's such a blur, like from where I am now to like think back then. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years. I was there and left. And I shoot photography. So like I continued shooting photography after I finally left because of, I would agree with you. You left because of the changes. And I think I was the last of your staff from the design and content stand that was there before I left.
Were you still there after Rich was asked to leave?
Yes, I was. He was asked to leave when we were at Warp Tour,
Right.
and I was left at Warp Tour and got a phone call, and like I did interviews, and I had never done an interview in my life. I was interviewing bands. I forgot to press record on one, did an entire interview, never recorded it.
Oh no.
Yeah, like that was like one of the worst days of working there where I very closely quit that day
Man.
because they called him back from Warp Tour, and then Rich was kind enough to call me and tell me like what happened, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And yeah, and then slowly as it, I believe I was the last of the non-civic, like Civitas hires.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. So you left the weekender. You said, "I've had enough of
Yeah.
it. This is
Yeah.
bullshit. This is not what I want to do. This is not. You're not gonna let them ruin your reputation."
Yeah.
Um, and then you
Um,
started doing photography. Well, not started,
yeah,
but
I
you
mean,
continued.
I continued doing photography. I worked as a designer for like local companies, like working in screen print design, and now have transitioned my full-time day job. I do marketing for an e-commerce site, and by day and by night I paint. And I have a show opening on April 1st, which is wild.
E-commerce by day, painter by night.
Yeah, essentially.
What company do you work for?
I work for Vintage Tub and Bath.
Okay. And you
They're
do
out in
their
Mountaintop.
marketing? Okay.
Yeah, I work in their marketing
That's cool.
department. So
Do you like
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. I like marketing. Marketing's fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
I wish that because I majored in marketing when I was in college,
mhm,
but back then you didn't have to, like, I took Photoshop as an elective, and I
mhm,
think like shortly after I graduated in 2005, they started, I think, making that like a mandatory part of the curriculum,
mhm.
which I mean I think you need, or if you don't need it, I mean it's definitely an asset to have if you can be in marketing and also capable of designing ads, and especially now with digital advertising and things like that. It's
Yeah,
such an asset. I think it almost always have to have that now.
yeah. Yeah, I do tons of email marketing. Um, so with that, and I even with the painting work I do, I have to market myself on social media, which is a very surreal experience to have to like really be vulnerable in that situation. And a lot of my artwork, and I don't know if you've checked out my social page and stuff, but I'm very vulnerable and honest about what's behind the pieces and the emotions and whatnot. And then to market on top of that, and to um I have people buying my artwork, which is crazy to think I've never met, buying pieces to put in their homes, as well as like friends from all the way back in high school buying pieces. So it's been a really surreal year, to say
Yeah,
the least.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, I mean, you were on social media, but I think you weren't really active, so to speak. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I see Amanda Dittmar pop up,
Mhm.
and I'm going to try and say this. You're called the artist. Oh man,
It's it's Japanese.
right?
I'm half Japanese, so it's actually I have two middle names and it's my Japanese middle name.
Okay, you say it before I screw it up.
Okay, it's Sachiko.
See, I that's what I was going to go with first, but then I started second guessing myself, and I'm like, maybe it's not like the ch sound,
Hmm.
but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my Instagram is the artist Sachiko and it's spelled Sachiko. Um, so that's my middle name. I just felt the most comfortable painting under a pseudonym, but still a part of myself as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I mean, I love the your middle name, and it's kind of this. I don't know. It's like this. It's cool. It's really neat.
Yeah,
And
it's just different.
yeah, and I saw these paintings pop up, and I'm like, how long have you been working on this? How long have you been setting this up for?
Um, so I actually started painting in high school and was very passionate about painting and photography. However, didn't see it as a career path back then. So I went into graphic design. I felt like it was an easier way to get a real job, so to speak, as an artist. But the pandemic hit, and I'm sure you know that put all of us into a much different situation. I was feeling a lot more anxious, and my wife and I were shopping, and she was like, I've never seen you paint. Why don't, like, let's get some supplies and start painting? And so she encouraged me, and then I started, and she's like, you should keep going. And it's turned into this big, bigger project. And I want to say at the end of last year, I'd stopped in to see my friends at Bazaar Skateshop. I'm not sure if you've been yet, but they're downtown. And I stopped in to check them out, talking about my artwork. They were telling me that they were getting into First Friday, and one thing led to another. And I got offered this show in April, and it opens April 1st. There's going to be a reception from 5 to 9 at Bazaar Skate Shop, and I'm super excited as well as very nervous to share everything.
Yeah, Bazaar Skate Shop on Adams Ave, I believe it is, in Scranton, April 1st.
Mhm.
One of the guys that's a part of that shop is a worker at Axelrad.
Yeah, Caleb,
Caleb.
right?
Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah, I've known my wife actually went to high school with Caleb, and I've known him for years. Just I used to photograph local shows and stuff, and he was in a ton of bands. So
Mhm.
we've met along the way. And yeah, what he's doing down there is just really awesome for the local community, especially for like young local skaters looking to get in. To have a shop like that is just like really incredible.
Yeah, Axelrad is full of like people like that, that have these like creative sides to them. And I always feel somewhat like an outcast because a lot of the staff there is, like I said, they're creative and they're entrepreneurial, and they're tattooed. And I mean, I have a little bit some tattoos, but um,
I
it's
mean, this is very like creative in its own way. Podcasting like has a huge community, and I mean, you're literally documenting stories of people that you've known. So I feel like this is your creative outlet.
okay. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had outside of these weekend interviews, I've had a chance of interviewing some of my favorite bands. I just confirmed the lead singer from the Verve Pipe.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, these are bands that from the '90s and things like that. But that's
Mhm.
who I grew up with. I mean, I interviewed the guy from Tantric, which is like one of my favorite bands in like the early
Mhm.
2000s, and I got an interview with Cold, lead singer Cold,
That's awesome.
coming
Yeah,
up.
there's a University Drive's going on tour with them,
Yeah,
right?
yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it's really cool to see how the community connects and stuff.
Yeah, that's I appreciate you saying that because yeah, I guess so. I don't think of myself as a very creative person, but I mean I guess this is an outlet. But yeah, I love being able to stay part of the scene and kind of like I said before, give people a platform to talk about themselves and who they are and how they got to where they are and the struggles and the wins and the losses and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. No, I
so
really like
go ahead.
I feel like back in the Weekender, when I was interning, you guys were doing video type of things back then, and that was like really cutting edge for you. So I think you like kind of took that creative and have turned it into a more like digestible of where like people watch a lot of podcasts and like this is in the digital age. This is like your way of giving the Weekender back.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I never really looked at it like that before. That's cool. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, I've said that before. You know, we were doing those weekender sessions, and Mike Lello kind of headed that up, and Matt Morgus was an intern that was very involved with that. We were, they kept saying to us, you need to build and create digital content, drive people to the website. We want you to do all this stuff, but we're not going to give you a budget to do it with. So like we're constantly like, abusing our interns and asking
Oh,
for
yeah.
asking for favors here and there, like, hey, can we use sound systems for free? We'll give you a shout out or whatever it might be. But that was some of the coolest things we did as far as like weekender sessions and things like that. And the party favors that Rachel kind of led, and Mike and Nikki had like weekly dose. And
Hmm.
when we were doing those things, nobody else in our market was doing that. We were definitely ahead of the curve. And I wish that ownership would have like backed us more and kind of helped us out a bit instead of us just kind of spinning our wheels. But um,
Yeah.
and we tried bringing weekender sessions back. I know you were part of that. We did.
Hmm.
Um, I think we started it off with Grace's downfall again.
Hmm.
But then there was you guys weren't we doing like monthly things with what the hell were we doing? Didn't you like uh do some kind of snowboarding?
Oh yes, we did trying new things.
Yeah, but
We
what do we call that?
Kieran did. Oh yeah,
The aerial
yeah,
stuff.
aerial fabric.
Yeah. I can't think of what we called that. I don't remember. But you did snowboarding, you did the aerial thing. I can't think of the other ones.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I fell so hard during one of the things, and that was like the highlighted clip in the video for everybody to watch. And I just remember getting sent clips of me falling over and over by friends.
What was it called? Like, it's driving me crazy. I remember we used it was music from My Downfall. Um I could think of this, I can't think of the song's name, but I can hear it in my head. But again, we're trying to do, create digital content to drive people to the website. And the area was really hard too, though, because like even as a salesperson and trying to get people to buy into, sponsorships and putting ads on the websites, they're like, well, I do ads in the weekender and that's worked for the past 15 years. Why would I want to do this internet thing
On the
that,
website.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
weird. It was weird. If only they knew what was coming.
right.
But
We were on the cutting edge.
yeah, some of those just still exist on YouTube, like the one at Harvey's Lake, the weekender sessions we do with the guy from,
A
oh
bunch of the
damn it,
weekender sessions still. I just like Googled it and you can see a bunch of weekender sessions, the
yeah,
videos. So
yeah, it's cool stuff. Oh well.
yeah, man.
What was your favorite part of the weekender? Favorite moment?
I feel like we had so many wild ones. I mean, I had a ton of fun at some of the man and model of the year parties.
Yeah.
When I was there, it was a wild party. We had some good parade day.
Yeah.
Yes. I think my first day of work, I was shooting the swimsuit edition. So that was like just to dive right into your first day full time.
That's cool though, right? I mean, think about that. Like out of all the jobs you could have, right? You know, you have this job where you're photographing half naked women, half naked men.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
It was the hotel right across the road too.
yeah, the pool at Genetti's.
Yeah.
That pool. There was a time when I think it was like 2006. I want to say there was a time they tried to make that pool area like an after hours type, like nighttime, like this cool
Club?
vibey, not a
Really?
club, but like, you know, somewhere to go. I
Mm-hmm.
remember Rachel called me late one night. She's like, "Hey, we're going to the pool at Genetti's. You know, Josh Rosenblatt's going to be there. Big Rob's going. Like, you got to go." And I remember I was like, "No, I'm not going out. There's no way." She said, "All these guys, everyone's going to be there. You got to come." And I did. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I went. We ended up swimming late. It was late. It had to be after midnight, but it was cool stuff.
Man, it was like back then, it was such a fun environment to work in
Yeah.
too.
I was always worried that it was going to spoil me because you had a lot of freedom. No one was like
Mm-hmm.
watching you punch a clock or anything like that. So it's like I was worried that I would go from that to like a real job. Where,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of happened. I left the weekender, went to the radio. The GM I had at the time was a friggin' nut. He was like a
Mm-hmm.
squirrel. Like he saw something shiny on the wall and he'd be like mid conversation with you and he'd be like off, like walking the other way. It was real bizarre. So
Yeah.
I left that place and I went to eBay for 6 months, which was a nightmare in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a new GM at the stations and he convinced me to come back and he was the best. Steve Borneman, he was an amazing general manager. I was so upset so I went back to radio. He
Mm-hmm.
left a year and a half, 2 years after I went back. And then we were GM-less for a little bit, and then we got a new GM, bit of a micromanager, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But now I'm at Axelrad, so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like I went back to the Weekender, as far as like, you know, you're not being watched all the time, and kind of have creative freedom to do things, and the ownership kind of empowers you to you know just make your own decisions and move the company forward, which is really great.
That's awesome. That sounds like a very much your vibe and like allows you to like take that ownership to like build something of your own, a part of something, you
Yeah,
know?
we just celebrated, I think it was a year now. There's this cool video that Tyler Rice made.
Mm-hmm.
I just put it on my Instagram. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but it's that's the old building and the new building.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy how he
That's
transformed
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, it's really cool. So you know, I'm
Uh,
happy. It seems to be a common thing where people who have left the Weekender, and you know, whether it was being forced out or leaving on their own, we've all kind of have done well for ourselves. There's no one that was a part of that product that has, you know, like, you know, fell at the face of the earth or, you know, started doing drugs or whatever.
mhm.
we're all pretty
Yeah.
we're all pretty
We're also kicking it.
yeah, we're you know, drug free. And
You have a long, yeah, you have a long list of guests to interview.
I do. I've gotten through a lot. I've gotten through a
Mm-hmm.
lot. But I stopped doing them for a little bit as far as the Weekender crew was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Some, you know, they said like, you know, yeah, not right now. You were one of them. Like, hey, you know, I'm
Yeah.
working on some stuff. I would rather do it when you could talk about what's going on. And as far as painting goes, like what kind of inspires you? And I'm guessing some of the stuff behind you is stuff that you've done.
Yeah, so this piece behind me is actually the feature piece in my upcoming show. And the other piece you see was my wedding gift to my wife. Um, but I describe myself as a queer Asian American abstract artist. I paint emotional experiences, is the best way I describe it. So I have painted about my personal struggle with anxiety, um, trauma from my childhood, um, just experiences that we probably as people all experience in our own ways. But I found a way to share my personal experience openly so that like others will feel more of a sense of community and less alone and would find things to relate to, because I feel confident enough in my art to share that level of um, getting so personal with myself and what I experience.
Yeah. So you said you're, queer Asian. There's obviously probably some challenges, with that.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have lived through, I've been discriminated at jobs, because as an individual, I've been out. I think you've known me since I've been out. I was out when I worked at the paper, and like looking back at that time, I was very comfortable being out and being published in the paper. And that was early 2000s
Yeah.
and stuff. Um, yeah, it's been an experience. I mean, coming out personally, I had family not accept me, so I have pieces that touch on that. Um, and just it's it's an experience, and especially I grew up in a very rural area in upstate New York, and I'm half Japanese, and in that area I visibly looked like a minority, and so I was treated as such in certain situations growing up that like you don't think affect you, but those scars do stay with you when you're called, you know, derogatory names and stuff like that. So, now I use that as inspiration for pieces and um, to share with the community, I guess. It's the best way to
Yeah.
describe
No,
it.
that's great. I mean, it's it's a shame that, discrimination exists. And the Weekender was probably a great place because it was that alternative
Yeah,
publication.
no one cared.
Well,
It
no, I
was
mean,
just
and we
like,
were and we were all like, we're not those people either. Like, we're not.
yeah, no, it was just chill. We were just all friends. And so like I never felt different at the Weekender because we all were just, you guys were so accepting. And like looking back, like not everybody can experience that, especially early in their career
Yeah, but it's a
either.
shame that like people have to like, oh, I need to feel accepted, or like I want to be accepted, and I mean, will people accept me because I am,
Hmm.
whatever, black, white,
Hmm.
Asian, whatever. It's such a shame. It really it's. I said this the other day. I feel like we're more divided now than we've ever been before. Um, Everything's so tribal. Everything's so political. Everything's just so, this side versus that side, and it's just like, I don't know how we got to where we are. I feel like we were making progress, and as much as people think that they're supporting certain things, I feel like by supporting it as much as they do, they're ignoring other things. If that makes any sense, I can't really.
No, that totally makes sense. I totally get where you're coming from. And especially like you have a completely different perspective from it. Especially like your lived experience compared to mine, based on, I mean, I'm assuming how you identify and all of
How
that.
dare you?
But
How dare you?
I know
How
that's
dare you?
really bad of
Amanda
me.
Dittmar, how dare you?
I'm so sorry. But um knowing you for as many years as I've known you, um it's just like to be able to view it from your perspective, and then you also know me as a person, and then you get to kind of see some of my perspective of life as well. I do feel that like sometimes we're very very divided as a society, and like I try to use my art as a way of communication to bring people together and show that we are very similar, whether you are straight, gay, however you identify, however you believe. I'm sure there's some type of experience that I have lived that you have also experienced.
Yeah. How old were you when you came out?
Ooh, I was 19. I was in college, so I came out late in life.
Did
So
you
yeah,
did you know for a
I
while?
yeah, I knew for a very long time. And I mean, I've kind of had two coming out. So I came out first as being a part of the community, but now recently, and I think the pandemic kind of allowed me to have a lot of time for personal reflection and stuff. I also now use they them pronouns because reflecting on myself felt that um, a non-binary identity better encompassed how I view myself as a person, because I didn't necessarily feel one way or another. I'm just me. That's the best way I describe it. So finding something that best encompasses that was also an experience as well. And there are pieces within this collection that kind of talk on that more.
Okay.
So yeah.
Can you elaborate? 'Cause I don't know if I'm, ignorant or what it might be, but the whole pronoun thing, you see a lot of people put in their social media profiles, he, she, you mentioned they, them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what does that mean exactly?
So I can tell you what it means for me personally,
Yeah.
but I mean, I would say most people, it's a conversation you should have with anybody. So I use she, they pronouns. So either I've used she pronouns my entire life. However, I feel that they better or more encompasses how I feel as a person and how I identify as a person. So I mean, because I'm so used to using she, it doesn't bother me. Most people use she pronouns for me. However, I do use they, them as well, um, because I do feel that that does encompass how I identify.
Yeah. I always feel kind of poorly. I mean, like, I don't know what it is about me. I just don't like, I don't know if I, how do I say this without sounding like an asshole? Because I don't want to sound
I
like an
mean,
asshole. I don't want to be an
we are
asshole. It's just a lot.
we're very good friends, so I would not view you as an asshole if you say it bluntly, but I've known you for so many years, so I know you don't mean it in harm.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, I don't know if it's my age and I don't want to like adapt. I don't, that's not it either. I just should probably just stop talking. But um, I think it's important to
The
have the
best,
conversations.
yeah, I mean, like the best thing that I can suggest is have conversations with people. Um, I had a lot of conversations with friends and people that was close with who did identify as non-binary, to hear their perspective and
Yeah.
their what brought them to that conclusion and when that happened. And I spend a lot of time listening. I enjoy to hearing people's stories and their personal experiences. So I've asked a lot of questions
Yeah.
with others, and I read a lot. So
I
yeah,
suppose that I just don't like labels.
yeah.
That's just me. I mean, because I don't see you as
You just see me as me because
yeah. You're Amanda Dittmar,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I learned at a very young age, and I've told this story several times. When I was very young, maybe 5 years old. I maybe 6. I don't know the exact age, but I was at my house with my
Hmm.
parents, and we had these calendars that you would put on the refrigerator, and we got a new one. And I ran over and I went to see the picture that was associated with my birthday month.
Hmm.
And I said, Mom, I don't like the picture for my birthday month. And she
Hmm.
said, Why is that? And I said, Because there's a black guy on it. And that was the moment when I learned that there is no difference. My mom sat me down and she's like, Whoa, like that doesn't mean anything. We're no different. You shouldn't view, people by the color of their skin and things like that. And
Hmm.
that stuck with me for a long time, and I'll never forget that as a very young boy. Um, and I like to think that, I mean, I don't see uh, color. I don't see race. I don't care if you're a man who likes other men or if you're a woman who likes women. I don't care. Like, you're not, as long as you're not hurting people. Like, what does it matter?
Yeah. And I feel like you're very much a people person. And with these podcasts, you're just having conversations. So I feel like you talk to a lot of people. So that might influence the way you just view individuals as their stories and their conversations, less by what society may specifically label someone as.
Yeah, it breaks my heart to hear that you weren't accepted when you were young and when you came out. And I don't know the hurdles you had to jump and during your childhood. And not that we need to get into it now, but I mean, that's like, and I think having a son or having a child, I mean, really kind of put that into perspective, because I would never want him to feel a certain way, no matter what he decides to do. And that would break my heart if I knew he was getting picked on for whatever reason. Maybe it's not even maybe it's just kids being kids and picking on kids. I don't,
Hmm.
let alone like sexual orientations and things like that. And I think he definitely changed my perspective and you know empathy I have for people. And I don't ever want to see people get hurt.
Yeah.
That's a terrible thing to have happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's great for you to also, because you're so empathetic. And I'm sure your son has really like brought that on tenfold, especially, like I'm sure when he gets a scratch, you feel every moment of his pain.
Yeah.
But that also like brings hope for the type of environment that you're bringing him up into, and like knowing like no matter what, your son's going to be accepted with you. Like that's amazing. And like to have that type of progress from our parents' generation to where you are, that's huge, especially for someone of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. I always say, like, obviously, no matter what happens, if he grows up and likes men or whatever it might be. I mean, I don't. It's instantly say I don't want him to be like that. And when I say be like that, it's not a. I don't mean it in a bad way, but like I don't want him to have challenges. I don't want him to have to like, you know,
You don't want them to
work.
have to struggle.
Yeah, I don't. Like, I remember saying to one of my friends, he's like, well, why do you care? And I'm like, because, and especially in this area at times, like we're a little bit further behind, and we're in an area that, we're old school and we're old ways of thinking. I'm like, there's definitely like people who would judge him or whatever it might be. He's like, oh no, it's better now. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? It's definitely not. I mean, I hope these conversations continue to happen and
Yeah.
we
I
get
mean, I
better, but
think we're better than where I felt like society was when I was growing up and young. And there's way more representation now, which is
yeah,
amazing. And I'm trying to use my platform to be as much of like representation for how I identify as well, and trying to use what bit of a platform I have as a way for younger generations to see, okay, there's somebody who might be like me that's comfortable being in public, and like this is possible, you know.
Well, Amanda, I don't think we ever talked like this.
Yeah, no, we got like a real heart to heart, man.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, it was weird. I mean, you don't want to do that in the workplace, especially if
Right.
I'm your boss and you're whatever. It's like, how do you bring it up? How do you talk about it without getting HR involved, right?
Right.
Not that I ever thought that you would do that, because you're very open
I'm
about,
very, yeah.
and that's how and um I'll talk about it really quickly. I've been auditioning for a reality show.
Oh.
They found me online. I thought it was a scam, but I've made it to the finals,
Uh-huh.
and I had a final interview last evening, and one of the questions was like, how do you feel about cancel culture?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe in it, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if we silence people, we're not having the conversations. We're not, um, you know, if you silence them, they just go away. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
Whoopi Goldberg said something on her show or whatever. I forget what it was exactly. Something about the Jewish community or something like that. I forget. But they wanted to try and cancel her. I'm like, well, instead of trying to cancel her, let's talk about what she said, why it's wrong, and like start the education like
And how to
process.
go about it at a
Yeah.
better way.
Don't just like, oh, you're done, you're gone. Let's not talk about you and what you did and what you said and move on from it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a discussion. But who am I? Who are we? We're just
You're
little.
Popko. I mean, in this area, you are Popko. I I was talking to coworkers and mentioning that I was going to be on this podcast, and they were like, I know who he is.
Really?
So yeah,
That's
I mean,
wild.
people still know you as John Popko from the
I don't believe
Weekender.
it.
Yeah.
It was a funny Dustin Douglas from it was Dustin
Uh-huh.
Drevich. I ran
Yeah.
into his dad today at the gas station. He goes, "Are you Johnny Popko?" I'm like, "Are you Dustin's dad?" Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, it's funny.
Oh, man. It's
But
it's the I just remember the beard icons that we did for marketing, and oh, that image of Kieran from Step Brothers was
yeah, that
golden.
was the best. That'll pop up in the Facebook memories, and I'm like, I don't think people appreciated this as much as they should
And
have.
it was so good.
It was so good. It was so good. Like that. Like, I don't know. It was so good.
There are so many golden nuggets in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, again, the Weekender was a great place. It brought a lot of people together, a lot of people that are doing great things. Kieran is a restaurant owner. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think I just saw an update on Facebook that he bought a restaurant. I run into him once every couple of years at a wedding.
Okay. Oh,
Never
sure. Yeah.
fails. Yeah, every couple of years, randomly, I will see him at a wedding, and I see your updates just from Facebook and stuff. But
Yeah, Rachel has
yeah.
a new Instagram page. I think it's called oh, some kind of baking thing. She's gonna kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna kill me. I should know this. She
Oh
just
yeah.
mentioned yesterday something about uh baked bread and breakfast. Hold on, I'll find it. Let's talk about it here. Let's talk about it. I bake bread and breakfast. New
I'm gonna
social media page from Rachel Pugh.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I did not see that yet.
Yeah, she's got 35 followers. We gotta get this up. Let's get her to 100.
100 followers.
All
Hang
five
on, while we're on this podcast, I'm gonna.
all five of my listeners will now go like her page.
Oh, it came up right away.
Yeah. Go ahead, like it.
All
And
right.
I'll see there it is, 36. We're at
Woo!
36, Rachel. But she was a great boss. She was a great first boss for me too, just because
Yeah.
I think some of the things I did probably should have been fired for. Mainly drinking too much, but thank
Oh
God she didn't fire
man.
me.
Yeah. I mean, where would we be now?
We'd be nobody.
I know.
I think
Yeah.
every Christmas, there'll be a photo pops up. You were away. I don't know if you were on vacation during Christmas time, but I put a 4-pack of Red Bull on your desk.
Yes, I remember that.
And I
It
wrote,
comes up on your timeline.
yeah. So and I wrote, for my favorite Asian, and I'm like, is that? Can we say that now? Is that incorrect these days? I don't even know.
Oh man, that's amazing. I didn't even remember that the just said that. That's amazing.
Yeah, you are.
I know, I am.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
I
wish.
hope you can come to the show, man.
Yeah, so April 1st. I mean, I've been meaning to get up there to hang out at Caleb's shop. So
Hmm.
I'm due to get up there. I'm gonna put it on my phone right now, so I at least have a reminder.
Yeah, so the
Um,
reception's from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
yeah. Uh,
Everybody's welcome.
Dittmar. Open to the public first Friday in
Yeah.
Scranton at Bazaar Skateshop, Adams Ave. Um, Amanda Dittmar, the artist Sachiko.
Sachiko.
I did
Yeah,
it. I did
you
it.
did it.
Did it.
Lots of
Dittmar.
practice.
All right. Dittmar art show. We'll call it art show. You said 5 to 9, right?
Yep.
And where can people follow you on social media?
On Instagram, it's at the artist Sachiko. And if they want to see all of my work is on my website. It's theartistsachiko.bigcartel.com. You can also purchase pieces, but you can see all of my pieces I keep up there, as well as the stories behind the inspiration from every piece.
That's great. I should definitely check
Yeah.
that out. I love to hear the stories. A lot of musicians won't talk about the meanings behind songs because they want the people to kind of interpret it, how
Mhm.
they see it. But I always love hearing the stories about music and songs, and I think the same thing might go for artists who paint and things like that. They want to they would like me to interpret it how I would want to, however I see it. But I like those stories, so I'll definitely check that out. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm excited. I've shared a few little previews of the show online, but most of the collection in its entirety has not been seen. And if it has been seen, it's only been seen in natural light like this. All of the pieces can be shown in a dual light as well. That will hopefully, if I can get everything together, show the show live. Otherwise, there's a few videos that I've posted with some sneak peeks of it as well.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you kind of reemerged onto social media and you've kind of brought this passion back to life, or however you want to call it. It's really cool to see you expose yourself and show your vulnerability and create
Thank
these
you.
art pieces and create a community where people can be a part of your world and
Yeah. I mean,
have the discussions.
I didn't even bring up, I once a month meet up with local artists and do a Zoom session just to talk about art and create a sense of community as well. So, it really has like brought, I'm trying to build a sense of community and
That's
stuff.
awesome.
So it's
We need
really,
people like that.
yeah.
We need people having discussions and creating things and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I hope the first
Well,
show
thank you
is
so much.
a wild success. I hope that I can make it. I have it in my
Absolutely.
phone. So that's half the battle right there.
Yeah, I'll send your wife a reminder too.
Yeah, what I should try and do is I'll bring the wife and kid and
Yeah.
maybe we'll go out for dinner in Scranton afterwards. We don't get that up that often. So we'll make
Yeah, there's a lot of really good places to eat up this way too, especially if you don't come up this way.
yeah. Well, it's in my phone. So we're gonna make it happen.
Sounds good. Well, I'm so excited to see you and catch
Yeah,
up. And
in person.
yeah, right. So
I pr-
crazy to see people in person now.
I know. Well, were you at my wedding?
I was,
Okay, so that's probably the last time I saw you then was 2015.
yeah, I shot your wedding.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That whole day was a blur. I mean, it's gone.
I remember a little bit of rain and you
A
had
little bit of
the
rain. It
biggest,
rained literally all day,
you
literally from
had
morning to
the
night.
biggest wedding party I
I
had
know.
ever seen.
I know. There's people I couldn't not have. I mean, there could have been more, really, honestly.
Oh,
There was people that I was in their weddings that I wanted to have in mine, but it got to a point where it's like, this is a lot. We had to rent the
yeah.
biggest like bus limousine to get people from point A to point B. Yeah,
Oh man.
good
Good
times.
times.
Good
Yeah,
times.
right.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for doing this. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad
Absolutely.
we had an opportunity to have these conversations, and that we couldn't have back in the day. And um, yeah, it's awesome.
It was great catching up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to get this out and let people know about your show. And I can't wait to see you
Absolutely.
on Friday, April 1st at Bazaar Skateshop, Adams Ave, Scranton, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Absolutely.
All right, Amanda, I'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right,
Bye.
later.